Today's episode is a carry on from what we discussed yesterday. If I remember correctly, I think we had been riffing about the birthday party that I had just shot, the 85th year old birthday party. So, even though the 85-year-old was the subject of the shoot, she wasn't the client per se, because it was one of her daughters who booked me for the photo session. So, um, okay, well, since you listened to the last episode, you already know how that went. But I had already mentioned, I believe, about the importance of trying to set expectations upfront verbally and doing so multiple times, repeating it time and time again, especially with the old school sales advice, the whole thing about making sure that you find 6 different ways to say what it is because the client is not going to remember. Now, when I tell that to most people in the event and the wedding industry space, when I tell wedding photographers or wedding planners that I hang out with that you can't just say you send an SMS and then they'll get the point, or you can't just say that you had the conversation and they'll get the point, or that it's in the contract and that they get the point. But you have to find ways of keep saying it over and over and over again if it's important for it to click. So some people think 6 is overkill, but this episode with the 85-year-old birthday shoot has just given a very clear example that I'd like to share with you guys to show you how our clients are really busy and burdened with different things in their daily lives. And so while some of these things are really important issues for us to make sure that they get the client experience that we promise them, they get bogged down with day-to-day life, daily concerns, business, kids, whatever it is that happens. So this one is a very clear example. So we're done, and we're now at the stage of photo selection. And so I wake up in the morning, going about my usual business, and then I notice a message from her concerning the kids, why we didn't have the a group photo with the children in the download link that I sent. So I called her, and this was something that we had already hashed on the day, but typically she had forgotten. So we hashed over it, and she remembered. She was like, "Oh, okay. It's not your fault." And then we came up with a game plan. Okay, so given the inadequacies that we have with the photos so far, I have no problem with taking mobile phone footage to make it as part of the wedding album. Now, I know that for some wedding photographers listening right now, what I have said sounds like sacrilege, and I am not recommending that the rest of you run your businesses that way, but it's just the way that I do things. I make sure that I do my best, but I've noticed that for some reason, some clients seem to be wed to the idea of some mobile phone photos that they took that they think are absolutely stunning, and they would like to form part of the final delivery to be made a part of the album. And I do my best to allow for this, to incorporate it as best as possible, because sometimes the images are not really sometimes the images are not large enough or are not shot well. But anyway, I try to make allowance for that. So I'm not recommending that as best business practice. So other wedding photographers or videographers who are listening to this, make your own judgment call. So we agreed, we came up with a plan. She's supposed to select a fixed number of photos, and then she's going to send me the mobile phone photos, and we agreed, and everyone is happy. End of conversation. And this happened at about 7:45 in the morning. Now, as time went on, I hadn't heard from her, so I just shot a reminder SMS, and that was about 8:57, and she responded, "This message is not meant for me." And I found that really hilarious because this is the quickest memory lapse that I've seen in my experience so far. But this is just to let you guys know that even though it might be an outlier, these things actually do happen. Our clients forget. Typically, they forget over the course of several days. Very few of them forget over the course of an hour. But this did happen. So I rang her back. I'm like, "Hey, ma'am, calling concerning your last message." And we talked through it and we had a laugh, and really she had forgotten about it. And so she said, "No problem, I'll get on it." And that was the end of that conversation. So basically, this is just an example to show those of you who are naysayers about this whole idea of saying something repeatedly over different channels in different ways, because if it is important, it is most likely that the client either didn't hear or will have forgotten it the more time passes. So it's no joke, because really you can have a conversation with the client, send a message or send over the contract or whatever at 7:45, and really by 8:57 she has forgotten all the things that you guys spoke about, because life is busy. In her own case, she has three boys, her and her husband running a business, mom is around in the house. So for her, there's a lot going on. And now, think about our typical client, our bride, who is getting married for the first time and the only time, God willing, is trying to manage conversations with, 20, 30 other vendors. It's a lot. So let's give them some grace, as people are like to say these days. So let's give them some grace and realize that yes, we may have sent over the contract, but she's looking at contracts from 30 other vendors. She's not going to remember what it is that she signed in your photography contract or your video contract or your wedding planning contract. She just isn't going to remember. And you may have had that conversation with her twice already, one at the family home and the second time when you were out with the couple, but chances are she might forget. And yes, you may have sent an SMS, but these things happen. Our clients are living busy lives and they forget because they have busy lives. We're not the only ones that are busy. Our clients are busy as well. They have busy lives, they're different pressures, so they forget. So remember, the old school sales advice is that you need to find 6 different ways of repeating that information. So for me, typically, I say all the important stuff when we have that first meeting, at the toasting stage. I repeat again what the important stuff are when I collect the money. And then as we lead up to the event, I typically repeat what the key items are. So let's just put it this way. At the bridal fair, when we first meet, I say all the important stuff. When we get to the point of collecting the money, I say all the important stuff. After we receive the deposit, thank you very much for your deposit. Remember, going forward, these and these and these are what are important. This is what I expect from you, and this is what you have to pay attention to. And they say, okay, no wahala, no problem, got it. Leading up to the wedding, let's say the wedding is October 15th. Typically, 3 or 4 days to the wedding, I'll call, what's up? How are you doing? How's the planning process? Okay, remember, this and this and this is what to expect. This is what I need from you going forward, and this is what you can look to get from me. We have that conversation. When it's done, I shoot over another text message. Bottom line is, with some creativity, you can find ample ways of repeating what the key things are that you want them to remember. So it might seem laborious, but it's good advice. Find 6 creative ways to do it: in person, over the phone, SMS, email, whatever. Just flex some creativity and you'll be able to get it done. So chances are you're not going to have this experience that I did, that you have a conversation with someone at 7:45 and the person forgets by 8:57. But it just proves the point that these things do happen. So yes, the bride signed the contract 3 weeks ago. Don't expect her to remember that when you signed it, when she signed it, she was giving away certain kinds of rights over the images, or giving you permissions to do certain things with the images and things like that. That's for those of us who are wedding photographers. And this is regards to the Instagram conversation. So the Instagram conversation, if it's really important for you, is something that you have to have over and over again. So okay, thank you very much for the deposit. Going forward, remember that we're going to be using photos from the shoot to promote on Instagram. If you have objections to any kind of images, maybe like you guys kissing, let me know so I don't use that. She says, okay, no wahala, no problem. You still have to repeat it again. You find another way of bringing it up again and again and again and again and again. And maybe after the wedding, when you send the download link to them and they're looking through the images, you mention again, no, I'm glad you really love the photos. Don't forget, we had discussed it before. I'm going to use some of these photos on Instagram. If there's anyone you don't want me to use, maybe like that image where your bra strap was showing. Let me know so I don't use it. So just have the conversations again. Don't just say, I sent over a contract, it was there in the contract, she signed it. That means they're on their own if they didn't read it, if they didn't pay attention. So yeah, that's it for today. Summary: our clients forget, life gets busy. Let's keep repeating. So thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer Tavishima Ayede. Thank you for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys on the next recording.